I'm going to show you how to achieve a watercolor look using your Tombow dual brush pens. So to get started, you'll want to have your Tombow blending palette, your Tombow water brush, I like the medium size, some nice thick watercolor paper, and Tombow dual brush pens in your favorite colors. So I'm going to show you a couple of different ways. The first way is directly onto the paper. So you draw a little bit of color and then use your water brush to blend the ink on the paper itself. And you can add more water to make it lighter. You can see you can keep going, keep squeezing it a little bit and getting lighter and lighter and lighter, or you can leave it nice and saturated like this. And then clean off your brush. And then the next way is to use your blending palette. So put some ink down onto your palette and then use the water brush to transfer the ink onto your paper. So wet it and then transfer it onto your paper. And this is a really great way to mix colors and come up with completely new colors, and then use this like a paint palette and just transfer the ink on. Now, if you really want it to look like watercolor, dab in a little bit of the ink into a few spots, because watercolor is not usually completely flat and even. It usually has some variation in color. And another thing you can do is add a little bit more water to some areas just by squeezing your brush. And you get what's called in the watercolor world a cauliflower effect, which some people don't like. I actually really like it. I think it has a beautiful sort of organic look to it. And you get that by adding more color or more water to a certain area. So I'm going to drop a little bit more water in, and you'll see as it dries, it's pushing that pigment away and it'll have a really unique look to it in that spot. Okay, so now we're going to do a little project using a couple of different techniques. So we'll put this aside and let it dry. And to clean off your palette, just use your paper towel while the ink is still wet and just wipe it down. Okay, so I've drawn a butterfly shape just in pencil, again on some watercolor paper, and I'm going to show you a super quick tutorial of how to create this. So for this one, I'm just going to use my blue and my purple, and I've got dual brush pen 535 and 636. So I'm just going to put a little bit of ink straight onto my watercolor paper. I'm not worrying too much about being neat or tidy because I'm going to blend it all together with water. Do the same thing over here. And a little bit in the middle on the bottom wings. And then I'm going to use the purple in the middle. And we're going to blend these together so you get a nice two-tone watery sort of look. And on the outside of these wings down here. Okay, now use your water brush and blend the colors together. I'm going to start in the middle of each wing and work my way out, just giving it a gentle squeeze to get that water flowing. So I'm blending and wetting the purple, and then I'm going to give my brush a little clean, and then I'm going to move on to the blue because I want the colors to mix, but I don't want them to get too muddy and completely blended. I still want you to be able to see some of the original color. And you can see where the wet ink has touched the other color wet ink, it's sort of blending together. And as I showed you before, if you really want to get that cauliflower bloom that you sometimes get with watercolor, just drop a little bit of water and you can see it starts to push some of the ink away from where you dropped it. And that'll dry in a really pretty way. So you can just do a couple of those. Okay, now we'll do the bottom wings. Okay, now we just have to wait for the ink to dry before we move on to the next step. Okay, now it's dry. You can see some of these cauliflower type areas where we dropped the water in. And you can also see some of that on the sample we did earlier. You can see how the ink's pushed away and gives you that real watercolor look. And you can see I also splattered a little bit of ink accidentally. And so this is where your Tombow mono sand eraser comes in handy. You can just use your sand eraser to remove some of those little spots. To finish our butterfly, you can use your black dual brush pen to fill in the body and leave the wings just as they are, or you can fill in some of the wings to just let a little bit of that color peek through, and I'll show you what I mean. And the bullet tip is great for those smaller details and line work. So the antenna. I didn't do that one very even, so I'll put this one over here. Okay, and then we're going to draw some shapes on the wings. Some smaller ones. And then one large one. And then I'm going to use the brush tip to fill in around all of the shapes. Okay, now we're going to do the same on these two bottom wings, using the bullet tip to draw the outlines and then the brush tip to fill them in. Okay, there you have your finished watercolor butterfly.